Once there was an explosion, a bang which gave birth to time and space. Once there was an explosion, a bang which set a planet spinning in that space. Once there was an explosion, a bang which gave rise to life as we know it. And then came the next explosion.
Rain, here it goes, dirty hands, sweaty clothes.
Hello there, fellow gamers. We are back with another video, and this one is a doozy. It is to our great excitement that Kojima-san does it again. The Death Stranding 2 is up for release in June of this year, and we are taking some time to talk about it. In a world of conventional games, Death Stranding stood alone. A mysterious odyssey that defied genre and definition. It wasn't just another blockbuster. It was a bold experiment by Hideo Kojima, a creator unafraid to push boundaries and toy with our expectations. This game asked players to bridge a shattered world, to reconnect isolated souls, and in doing so it carved out a unique place in gaming history, even birthing a new genre Kojima dubbed the Strand game, emphasizing bonds over battles. Released in late 2019, Death Stranding felt less like entertainment and more like an experience, one filled with surreal imagery, emotional solitude, and a narrative as perplexing as it was profound. Little did we know how eerily it would echo the real world months later. Kojima has never been shy about fearless experimentation. From mind-bending plot twists to breaking the fourth wall, he's an auteur who treats games as his personal canvas. Death Stranding was his wildest painting yet, a meditation on connection, isolation, life, and death, delivered through the unlikeliest of gameplay, walking in the shoes of a courier across a fallen America. It's the kind of offbeat, visionary project only Kojima could deliver, and it left us with as many questions as answers. Now, as we look to the horizon of Death Stranding 2, those questions only multiply. Was Kojima merely imagining a future or somehow glimpsing it? How is it that his fictional worlds resonate so strongly with our reality? Strap in as we dive into the legacy of Death Stranding, the tantalizing hints we have about its sequel, and the profound themes that tie it all to our world today. Death Stranding was more than a game. It became a mirror to our times. When it launched, players found themselves guiding Sam Porter bridges through a United Cities of America, torn apart by invisible threats, forced indoors and isolated. They built bridges, literally and figuratively, delivered hope in packages, and slowly knitted a disconnected society back together. At the time, it felt like poignant science fiction. Then, only a few months later, the world faced a shockingly real parallel. Death Stranding released in November 2019. By early 2020, a global pandemic had confined millions to their homes, making us lone porters in our own lives. The eerie similarities did not go unnoticed. Suddenly, the game's core theme, maintaining human connection in the face of isolation, wasn't just a clever idea, but our daily reality. Players who revisited Death Stranding during lockdown found it almost prophetic. The sight of Sam donning a mask and delivering essential supplies to isolated survivors struck a chord, reflecting headlines on our news feeds. Kojima himself addressed this uncanny timing. He hadn't predicted COVID, but he acknowledged that Death Stranding's themes became more pertinent than ever once the pandemic hit. He revealed that when conceptualizing the game, he already sensed a growing divide in our world. Signs of a divide despite all our internet connectivity. In his words, the game was an alarm I wanted to put into society, a warning about how fractured we were becoming. Indeed, when the pandemic forced us apart, many of us turned to the same solution Kojima's story proposed. We reached out through the digital strands of the internet to feel less alone. Death Stranding's legacy is forever tied to that moment in history. It was the right game at the right or perhaps terribly wrong time. A piece of speculative art that inadvertently became a comfort and a commentary during a real-world crisis. By connecting players across its chiral network, Death Stranding reminded us that even when physically apart, we're stronger when we find ways to come together. In the game, that meant leaving ladders and bridges for strangers. In reality, it meant Zoom calls with family, online communities, and shared struggles. Kojima's haunting vision of lonely souls yearning for connection turned out to be our own story, written ahead of time. Now, with Death Stranding 2 on the horizon, intrigue and mystery swirl once again. Kojima, ever the showman, has been teasing us with cryptic trailers and scant details. Here's what we do know. The sequel's official title is Death Stranding 2 On the Beach, and it's slated to release on June 26, 2025. A special pre-order trailer was unveiled at a recent panel, treating fans to a glimpse of what's to come. Our protagonist, Sam Porter Bridges, portrayed again by Norman Reedus, is back, looking a bit older, a bit wearier, a true veteran of the Strand. Joining him is Fragile, the enigmatic courier played by Lea Seydoux. And yes, even Troy Baker returns, presumably as the mysterious Higgs or in a new guise. But Kojima hasn't stopped there. He's bringing in fresh faces like actress Elle Fanning and Shioli Kutsuna, and even legendary filmmaker George Miller is involved in some capacity. This star-studded cast hints that DS2's narrative ambitions are sky-high. What about the story? Death Stranding 2 is set to follow the events of the first game, with Sam embarking on a fresh journey in a changed world. The official synopsis teases an inspiring mission of human connection beyond the UCA, suggesting Sam and his companions venture beyond the known cities to save humanity from some new extinction-level threat. Yet a haunting question underpins the narrative this time. Should we have connected? That provocative line, which appears at the end of the teaser, implies that the very triumphs of the first game, reconnecting America, might carry unintended consequences. Expect Kojima to flip the script on us. As one official description warns, expect the unexpected. Did uniting the cities awaken a new danger? Was the cure worse than the disease? These questions hang in the air like the game's supernatural BTs, giving DS2 an ominous, contemplative tone. In terms of gameplay, Kojima has hinted that the sequel will evolve the social strand system. Players' actions might have even greater impact on each other's worlds this time. One blurb tantalizingly notes that how you choose to leave your mark will affect how others experience the game, perhaps meaning even more profound asynchronous multiplayer elements. Imagine building not just bridges and roads, but influencing entire regions for other players, or conversely, facing the fallout of their decisions. We also know DS2 will feature large open-world environments and new forms of traversal and combat, as hinted by the trailer's mix of gameplay and cinematics. In the footage, we catch glimpses of Sam piloting a boat across a flooded landscape and using advanced delivery exoskeletons, suggesting the world has changed, wetter, wilder, and even more treacherous. Kojima has openly discussed how the pandemic influenced DS2's story direction, even admitting he completely rewrote the sequel after 2020. You can't pretend that something this big never happened, he said of COVID-19's impact on our world. Because players themselves lived through a global lockdown, he felt a pre-pandemic script would no longer resonate the same way. This means DS2 is being crafted with our new reality in mind, a reality where we all understand the value of connection and the pain of its loss far more deeply. Kojima also hinted that the very meaning of Strand is evolving in the sequel. In his words, Death Stranding, connection was justice, but after everything that's happened, is it enough? Remote, digital connections grew in importance, yet Kojima felt pseudo-connections alone are not enough. Human beings need to get out into the world. This philosophical shift will likely play out in DS2's themes and mechanics. We might see the game urging players and its characters to balance virtual links with real human contact, possibly leading to more face-to-face encounters in the story, or new multiplayer innovations that bring people together in unexpected ways. All told, Death Stranding 2 promises to be as enigmatic and thought-provoking as its predecessor. We have a release date, a stellar cast, and a few tantalizing clues. But Kojima being Kojima, what we think we know is only the tip of the iceberg. As we await more info, one thing is certain. The sequel is gearing up to challenge us emotionally and intellectually, just as the first game did. Hideo Kojima has long been fascinated with the future, not the flying cars and space utopias of classic sci-fi, but the future of human society, of technology, of truth and connection. Over the years, fans have marveled at how elements of Kojima's games later echoed real-world developments. It's reached the point that some half-jokingly call him a prophet. How is it that a video game creator, weaving wild tales of nanomachines and AI and apocalyptic stranding events, can strike so close to reality? Kojima himself laughs off the idea that he can actually predict the future. He quipped that if he truly had prophetic powers, he'd be making games that sell even more copies. Yet he doesn't deny that his stories are deeply in tune with societal undercurrents. Take Metal Gear Solid 2. What once seemed like a confusing postmodern narrative about digital censorship and meme propagation now feels astoundingly ahead of its time. Long before fake news and social media echo chambers became part of our daily vocabulary, Kojima was warning how control of information could shape reality. His games have addressed themes of private military forces before contractors became prevalent in war, surveillance states, nuclear proliferation, and more. Always a few steps ahead, or at least right on the cusp of public consciousness. With Death Stranding, Kojima turned his gaze to the themes of isolation and interconnectedness in the modern age. As he explained in interviews, he saw the world dividing, people retreating into individualism despite being linked by the internet. In many ways, DS1 was his commentary on that paradox. We are technically more connected than ever, yet we feel more alone and fragmented. Sound familiar? That's because it's exactly what we've been grappling with in recent years. From the loneliness epidemic to political polarization, from online echo chambers to communities splintered by misinformation, our society today is a fractured world in need of bridges. Kojima tapped into those fears and hopes, using the language of a fantastical game to reflect very real anxieties. Now, Death Stranding 2 seems poised to go even deeper. The subtitle On the Beach itself evokes the idea of a shoreline, a liminal space between land and sea, life and death, isolation and connection. The provocative question, should we have connected, suggests Kojima is ready to explore the downsides or complexities of unifying a broken world. It's as if he's asking, what if bringing everyone together isn't an absolute good? What if those bonds carry darkness too? It's a nuanced, even daring question in a time when coming together is usually seen as positive. But Kojima's vision has always been layered. Perhaps he is commenting on how connecting via technology alone can be a double-edged sword. Uniting people, yes, but also spreading dangers, be it a virus or hate, or something supernatural in the DS universe, quickly across the globe. Consider how, in our reality, being globally connected meant a virus could jump from continent to continent in days, or how social networks can propagate rumors and panic at light speed. The very networks that unite us can also amplify our divisions. Kojima appears keenly aware of this irony. In a recent discussion, he noted that issues of isolation and division still plague the world, even beyond the pandemic. He alluded to factors like war and social unrest fueling these divides. One can think of events like the conflict in Ukraine or rising extremism in various countries as real-world parallels to the strife in his games. Kojima believes that while entertainment, like games, can't directly solve political problems, it can change the world by inspiring people. This outlook might be at the heart of DS2, using a video game story to make us reflect on our reality and possibly see each other with a bit more empathy. He's effectively holding up a dark mirror to modern society's challenges, be it the lingering psychological fallout of a pandemic, the continued movement toward remote life that he personally finds concerning, or the way technology like AI and algorithms might further distance or control us. In one interview, Kojima expressed a subtle dread that in the future, the world might become one where entertainment is brought down to us from above and tailored by AI, losing the human touch. Imagine a future where everything is a recommended for you feed. Convenient, but isolating and manipulative. Perhaps DS2 will weave some of those fears into its narrative fabric, posing questions about free will, human connection, and technology's role in our lives. Kojima's vision has always been grand and cinematic, but grounded in human emotion and societal commentary. In Death Stranding 2, we anticipate he'll continue this tradition, blending personal stories, Sam and his companions' struggle, with big-picture questions. He's essentially asking us to ponder the future with him. Where is humanity headed? Are we building a better tomorrow with our technology and global networks, or are we paving a road to our own isolation? The fact that these questions resonate outside the game, in our daily news and debates, is what makes Kojima's work so hauntingly effective. Whether or not he predicts the future, he certainly channels the present's hopes and fears into compelling futuristic tales. As we gear up for DS2, many of us can't help but wonder, what new reflections of our world will we find in Kojima's next strange masterpiece? One of Kojima's favorite metaphors in Death Stranding is the rope and stick analogy. It actually comes from a short story by author Kobo Abe, which Kojima cited when explaining the philosophy behind the game. The idea is simple yet profound. The first tool humanity invented was the stick, a weapon to create distance, to keep threats away. The second tool was the rope, used to tie things together, to keep what we cherish close. Kojima looked at the entire action game genre and realized most games hand us endless sticks, guns, swords, ways to fight, but very few offer ropes, ways to bond or cooperate. With Death Stranding, he set out to change that. "I want people to be connected not through sticks but through ropes," Kojima said, encapsulating his mission to pioneer a game about connection rather than destruction. In the game, this rope versus stick philosophy manifests in how you play. You can use weapons, yes, there are guns and grenades made from bodily fluids in true Kojima fashion. But combat is often a last resort, even futile against certain enemies. Conversely, using ropes, not literal ropes, but tools of connection, is key. You build bridges, set up ladders across chasms, share supplies, and even soothe your bridge baby by literally cradling it. The most powerful weapon in Death Stranding is the strand, a cord you can use to bind human enemies without killing them. Symbolically, every strand you weave with another person in the game makes you stronger, while every time you rely on violence, you risk consequences. Killing people in DS has severe fallout, actually causing more BT monsters to appear. Kojima rewarded players for helping each other, giving likes when your structure aids someone else's journey. It's a complete inversion of the usual action game mindset, and it felt refreshingly hopeful. Kojima's rope and stick analogy in DS1 was almost a plea. Choose the rope whenever you can, and if you look at the world today, isn't that exactly what we need? The game subtly asks, will you build bridges or walls? And our society is grappling with the same question. Do we reach out to those we disagree with, try to understand and connect, throw a rope? Or do we fortify our echo chambers and repel them, brandish a stick? The beauty of Death Stranding is that it illustrates how much more rewarding the rope can be. There's a quiet joy in knowing the bridge you built in your game saved another player from a deadly fall. It's a reminder that acts of kindness, however small, have ripples. Similarly, in life, every gesture of empathy can ripple outward in ways we may never fully see. Given all these clues and philosophies, what might Death Stranding 2 be trying to tell us? What future is Kojima hinting at this time? While we peer through a glass darkly until the game releases, we can certainly speculate, and Kojima loves when we speculate. He's the master of cryptic teasers that set our minds racing. So let's connect some strands and imagine the themes DS2 could explore, and how they might reflect our world's trajectory. It wouldn't be far-fetched for Kojima to subtly comment on how human actions, our relentless pursuit of progress, or in DS terms, the exploitation of chiral technology, might have long-term consequences that future generations, like the characters in DS2, must now confront. In a broader sense, Kojima could be asking, what do we owe each other? If DS1 was about saving humanity in a crisis, DS2 might explore rebuilding civilization responsibly. Should we continue the old ways, or find a new path? The presence of an older Sam and a new younger cast, like Elle Fanning's character, who some theorize might represent the next generation in this world, reinforces this generational theme. Sam could be a mentor figure now, carrying the burden of past decisions while the new characters carry hopes for the future. In summary, the canvas for speculation is vast. Death Stranding 2 could be commenting on digital versus physical connection, the cost of unity, the responsibility of legacy, the persistence of division, or all of the above. Perhaps Kojima's greatest prediction isn't any single event, but rather an understanding of cyclical human challenges. We overcome one hurdle, isolation, only to reveal another, consequence of connectivity. And so the cycle continues. It's thought-provoking to imagine what DS2 will say about the future of humanity. Will it be hopeful, cynical, or a bit of both? If Kojima's track record is any indication, expect a complex tapestry that doesn't offer simple answers. Instead, it will raise profound questions, the kind that linger in your mind long after the credits roll. And that is exactly why so many of us are counting down the days to experience it for ourselves. The wait for Death Stranding 2 might feel long, especially when you're itching for that blend of mystery, contemplation, and emotional connection that Kojima delivers. Fortunately, there are other games out there that resonate with some of Death Stranding's unique themes and vibes. Whether it's through gameplay or story, the following titles might just scratch that itch and offer meaningful experiences while you count down to DS2's release. Journey from 2012. If Death Stranding is about connecting isolated people across a vast land, Journey is the minimalist, poetic version of that idea. In this beautiful indie game, you play a robed figure trekking toward a distant mountain across deserts and ruins. It's a short game, about 2 hours, but profoundly moving, often leaving players contemplative about the strangers who walked part of the journey by their side. If you valued the cooperative spirit of DS1's online features, Journey is a must-play pilgrimage of subtle, soulful connection. Nier Automata. This action RPG might seem an unusual pick, but beneath its android combat and bullet hell battles lies a heart that Death Stranding fans will appreciate. Nier Automata is a masterclass in storytelling, with multiple perspectives and endings that will leave you pondering big questions about humanity's future, a theme Kojima would surely approve of. Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty from 2001 throws it back to one of Kojima's own classics. If you haven't played MGS2, or even if you have, now might be a perfect time to revisit it to appreciate just how forward-looking Kojima's storytelling was. Playing it today, you might get chills at lines of dialogue that essentially describe social media echo chambers and post-truth politics, even though the game came out in 2001. It's a testament to Kojima's visionary, some say eerie, knack for identifying where the world might be headed. Plus, MGS2's gameplay, with its emphasis on stealth and creative problem-solving, still holds up well. Each of these games, in their own style, emphasizes exploration, connection, whether between characters or players, and a reflective experience over sheer competition. They carry forward the idea that games can make us feel and think, not just react. Death Stranding 2 looms on the horizon like a mysterious mountain peak, its details shrouded in Kojima's signature secrecy. Yet even in this uncertainty, one thing is clear. The conversation around this game is as important as the game itself. Kojima has once again sparked a flood of questions. Can a video game really predict the future, or do visionaries like Kojima simply see the writing on the wall before the rest of us? Will Death Stranding 2 offer hope for our fractured world, or a warning, or both? And perhaps most intriguingly, what do you think the future holds for us and within Kojima's next tale? What do you believe Kojima is trying to tell us this time? Is it a warning about too much connection, a call to find balance, or something even more mind-bending? There's no right answer. Not yet. And that's the beauty of it. We get to speculate, to discuss, to bond over the mystery. In the end, whether or not Kojima can predict what's to come, he certainly has a knack for making us think about the future in new ways. And perhaps that was his goal all along. Death Stranding 2 is coming, and with it, a journey that promises to be unforgettable. If you liked the video, please subscribe, ring that bell, and we'll see you in the next one. Until we can play it for ourselves, stay connected, stay thoughtful, and as Sam would say, keep on keeping on.
I've been alone this whole time.
You're wrong. Death can tear us apart. We'll always be connected. We will always be with you, no matter what. You will never, ever be alone.
This time, I'll make a lasting connection with the lady in red. The perfect ending